Hello everybody, it's time to talk about Ted Lasso. Again, we're back to talking about Ted. I asked you guys to give me all of your questions about the characters, the writing, all 3 seasons, and what could be coming in the 4th, and then I was going to go through and answer them for you. And that's what we're going to be doing today. So, let's get to talking about Ted and the gang. Bip. Ted and the gang, bip. I can't believe I thought he was saying bip but not baby. Oh, you guys left me a lot here. Oh my god, there's loads. Perfect. I've also got, let me show you this, hang on. When I was watching the reactions, I also said that my mum loves the show. She's given me a list, double-sided, of questions. So I'm going to go through and answer yours, and any that haven't been answered, that my mum's left me, I'll go through and do at the end. First one in from Chris. Hello, Chris. If they would add a real player to the cast as a footballer for the Richmond team, which player should it be? Well, I may be biased, but Lionel Messi in his prime would have been lovely. That would be great for the team, but there is another answer I have here. I think that if they'd had added Jack Grealish, I'll show you what Jack Grealish looks like, put him in as like a attacking midfielder or a striker, he would get on Jamie's nerves, and Jamie would have thrown even more of a tantrum than he did when Zava arrived. And I think that would have been highly entertaining. Because it would have you would literally have added 2 Jamies, and Jamie wouldn't like that. So that's who I would have added, just to annoy Jamie. What are your thoughts on Nathan's redemption arc? I loved it. Because honestly, for a while, Nathan was a problem to me. Nathan really let me down through season 2. I was very upset with him. When there was this shift in season 3 and you could see that he realised he was wrong and he accepted he was wrong, and like he did what he needed to do to get out of the whole Rupert situation. I respect him for that. He became far more self-aware than I ever thought was possible. If we'd have gone back to season 2, I couldn't imagine there would be a shift for Nate as quickly as that. But the fact that it did, and it was so beautifully done, with him coming to terms with Ted and his dad, and then that scene with Beard, sort of almost passing the lantern to him in terms of Ted gave me a chance, now I'm going to give you one. I loved Nathan's redemption arc. It was a 10 out of 10 for me. As someone in the UK, do you feel some of the dialogue that the British characters used seemed occasionally inauthentic? Like Keely using parking lot instead of car park, or eggplant instead of aubergine. Do you know, I hadn't noticed, but now you now you say it. I hadn't actually noticed that whilst watching, probably because I was just too focused on the show. But you're right, yeah, there is some like American slip-ups in terms of the language. Yeah, I would agree there. Yeah, it is occasionally inauthentic now you've pointed that out, but I wouldn't have noticed it at the time. So I think that shows to me how good the writing was that I didn't notice it, because it's the sort of thing that would get under my skin, but I was so engrossed in the show that I didn't notice it. But good catch. Fernie, if you had to plan a road trip with any of the characters, who would you go with? Where in the car would you and the characters sit? It's a standard 5-seater car, so you have 4 characters to select. And where would you go? What a question. Oh, Fernie, what a question. I would take... Who's the best bundle to take? I'd honestly take... Okay, I'll reel off who's on my mind right now. Deborah, who's Rebecca's mum, because she's so entertaining. Rebecca, Ted, Jamie, Roy, and Trent. They're my 6. I need to cut that down to 4 if I'm... Can I not sit on the top of the car in like a... I don't know, something... Can you not attach me to the top of the car? Deborah's going to get annoying after a while, and I feel like Rebecca would be in a bad mood because she's there. So we'll get rid of Deborah for this example. She's probably off on a retreat somewhere as well. She's busy. So it's between Trent, Jamie, Roy... See, I'm only taking Roy because I know him and Jamie would be quite entertaining. But then do I want that? Do I want to see something different? No, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to take Rebecca, Ted, Trent and Jamie. And I think... Who's going to drive? I can't see... Does Trent know how to drive? Isn't that a joke at one point? Oh no, he says he doesn't know how to ride a bike. No, he does know how to drive. Maybe Trent's the best. Trent driving, Rebecca next to Trent, and then me in the back. No, I've changed my mind. Trent's going to drive. I'm going to sit in the front passenger seat because otherwise I'm going to feel motion sick. And then in the back, I'm going to put Rebecca on the right, Ted on the left, Jamie's going to be stuck in the middle. He's going to have to deal with that. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Because I think actually, no. Jamie's going to be on the left, Rebecca's going to be on the right, Ted's going to be in the middle, and he's going to annoy everyone on the back row. Yes, and me and Trent are going to be listening to music in the front and just yapping. That's what I'm picking. And we would be going... where would we go on a nice little road trip? I mean, I could really drag it out. We're going to drive to Edinburgh from London. From Richmond, and we're going to drive to Edinburgh. Yeah, going to really drag it out. Perfect question, Fernie. Love it as always. If you could choose someone to hang out with, who would it be? Rebecca or Nathan, pre-redemption, so pre-Nathan's redemption arc, or Rebecca? I would pick Rebecca. Nathan in the end I loved, and Nathan at the beginning I thought was very sweet, and I felt very sorry for him. But that middle bit was so rough, I don't want to face it, so I'm going to pick Rebecca. If there was a season 4, there is a season 4, what would you like to happen? Well, we got hints at the end, didn't we, of like a possible women's league. Is Ted going to be coming back to manage that or something? I don't know. I want him and Michelle to rejoice, and I think we saw that a little bit at the end. Is that they're going to make amends and try and work things through. I don't want Jake in the picture, I can't stand Jake. Yeah, I think, a bit of a shift between Ted and Michelle and the personal dynamic there. And what I really want to happen is for Rebecca to be happy. So, the Flying Dutchman, I would like them to be together and be very happy. That's what I would love to see play out in season 4. That's my personal 2 little things that I want to see. Whatever else happens, I want those 2 things. Roy becoming head manager, do you think he has a good ending? Yeah, I do. I think that's the right thing for Roy. I think Ted showed him that shift of... Roy realised he didn't want to be a sports pundit when Ted made it very clear to him why he wanted to be a coach back in the day and why Ted realised he wanted to be a coach. And I think that created a shift for Roy. And I think it's the best thing for him. I think, in a way, Roy will flourish as a manager more than he ever did as a player. And he was an incredible player, right? But I think he's going to do even better as a manager. So, no, I think it's a good thing for Roy. Do you think anyone will show Ted how to treat tea with cream and sweetener in season 4? I don't think it matters, brother. I think Ted dislikes tea either way. I think you could put milk and honey in it and Ted wouldn't like it. I just think it's not for him. But can we trick him somehow? See, this is another thing. Are they making the tea too strong? Because I know Americans make tea. Americans leave the tea bag in. Like lunatics. I don't know what's the matter with you lot. I very, very rarely ever drink tea, but if I do it very, very daintily. Just a couple of dips with the tea, but I'm very, very faint. You don't need too much tea taste. So maybe, Ted, come over to mine and I'll make a cup of tea for you. I might make him like it. Did you know AFC Richmond was included in the FIFA 23 video game? No? Was it? No, I didn't know that. I'm not really much of a gamer, as you'll see if you watch Claudie Corner. I'm not much of a gamer, so no, I wasn't aware. But that's really cool. What would you order at May's pub to watch a Richmond game? Oh, fish and chips is a good shout. I haven't had fish and chips in years, but fish and chips would be a great shout. Maybe. Fish and chips. Or maybe just the chips. Maybe just, honestly, just really, really good double-cooked chips. And I would say a beer, but it gives me the hiccups. Iced tea? I don't know if they did that at Maze, but maybe she'll do an iced tea, I don't know. But something along those lines. If you could replace... Stop. If you could replace one of the main characters with a potted plant, who would it be? And would the plot change? That's a horrifically brilliant question. If you could replace one of the main characters with a potted plant, who would it be and would the plot change? I love this character. I really do. But you could replace him with a potted plant. And I don't know if much would change. As long as it could talk and still give wisdom. Higgins. If you just make him like a, I don't know, I'm trying to think of what, you just make him a standard peace lily or something. He'd be more comfortable in that cupboard. if he was a pot plant, you know? Not a pot plant, a potted plant, you know what I mean? More looking forward, but what would you like to see in season 4? So been over that a little bit in terms of I want to see Rebecca happy and I'd love to see Ted and Michelle kind of figure things out a little bit. But I suppose other things, I'd love to see more Jamie. From what I know is Jamie's not going to be in season 4. There's a bunch of people that aren't in the cast list. One of which is Trent Crimm. And Nathan apparently is not in the... Hang on, Ted Lasso... Why is my... There we go, the keyboard wasn't working. Ted Lasso, season 4, cast list. Actually, it's probably easier if I put not in cast list because there's actually still quite a few people in it. I don't want to pay so I don't get ads. Go away. So who's confirmed? Jason Sudeikis, Hannah Waddingham, Brett Goldstein, Brendan Hunt, and Jeremy Swift. But who's not? So Phil Dunster will not return as a main cast member. But here's the thing: not return as a main cast member. That doesn't mean we're not going to see any Jamie, as far as I know. He's not just going to be there as frequently. Unconfirmed or missing is Sam, Danny, Isaac, Colin, Nate, and Rupert. The role of Ted's son Henry is being recast, with Gus Turner not returning. So I'm a bit shocked, and this is all from like 2025. I think this is info that's come from. Focus Productions beginning July 2025, and I remember seeing the Apple TV like teaser that came out. I think September, before I ever even started watching the show. There was like a teaser that was shown to me by a friend saying they're already working on season 4. I'm quite shocked actually as to who's not returning, and I don't know because, for example, say they do show more of Ted and Michelle, Henry's going to be played by a different kid. So how's that going to line up? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just sort of wondering, how is this even going to play out? Who knows, man? I really hope they put it together and it's interesting, but I do have my own worries for season 4 in terms of how are they going to make it all harmonious and interesting as the other seasons. I think in a way it would have been the perfect ending, season 3. I'm very happy that we've got the opportunity to see more, and I've got a feeling they could make it work really well. But at the same time, the 3 seasons rounded up so nicely, I'm not 100% sure it's going to work perfectly. But listen, these are more talented people than me, and I'm sure they've got something up their sleeve, so I'll leave it in their hands. If you would have the chance to play the role of a new character in season 4, what role would it be? I would like to be Jamie's girlfriend, and I will bring him back to Richmond and to the show. All right, thank you for the question, Chris. All right, no, who would I actually be? If I could play the role of a new character in season 4, if they did do a women's team element, which is what I think they'd do, I'd love to be a character on a Richmond's women's team. I'd have to like work out more and get fit so I actually look believable, but I would adore, like, if I could be cast, I'd be the female Jamie Tart. I'd wear the fucking Alice band and everything. That's what I'd do. I'd be I'm trying to think of a name. Jamie Tart. I'd keep my name, obviously, because I'm self-branding. And I would be Claudie Flan. We've had a Jamie Tart. I'd be a Claudie Cake. Jamie Tart, Claudie Cake. With 2 Ks. So CAKKE. That's what I'd be, Claudie Cake. And I'd be number 11 right winger, because that's what I used to play. Seb's left a question, but it's not a question. Oh no, it is a question. Is this possible in today's sports world? For me, success is not about the wins and losses. It's about helping these young fellas be the best versions of themselves on and off the pitch. Here's the thing, there's brilliant truth to it in a way, because I think that is what you desire in a coach, is actually someone who gives a fuck about you outside of your performance in your job. But I don't think Ted necessarily was the best coach in terms of making the team win. I mean, what I mean by that is, thank God Roy and Beard and Nathan at points was there. Because if they weren't, just Ted's faith in the team and their behaviour would not have led them to the success that they had. They actually need that from strategy and a bunch of other stuff, which is why I think Roy, Beard and Nathan were so crucial in their own ways. So it is possible in today's world for a coach only to care about the mindset of the team and things beyond the game, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing, and you need a balance. If you're like a management team, you need a balance of that, in my opinion. How do you feel about the representation of English subculture from a foreign American perspective? There were some bits that I thought were very American and very dramatised. I mean, Enigma brought up the like language stuff that I actually hadn't picked up on or hadn't recognised. But there was some other stuff. There was just some very Americanization of things. You know, a lot of it was pushed in this terms of like, you know, the good guy always wins, and you know, respect and happiness is the way forward. We need to be good to each other. If this was a British written show, I mean, I know Brett Goldstein's British and things, but you know, you've only got to look at British comedies, everything from Fawlty Towers to Only Fools and Horses to like Vicar of Dibley to anything that is a classic British comedy. It's much more of a negative outlook on life, I suppose, or this sort of thing of like not everything always goes your way. And yeah, you could tell from a British person looking at this from a comedy perspective, you could tell very clearly this was written by or pushed to a non-British audience, mainly an American audience. But I loved it. I loved the feel-good approach. I loved the shift. There was actually a very good balance of American and British humour as well. It laid it out very perfectly. There was some very dry wittiness and sort of near the mark jokes, but then there was other stuff that was more classic American humour. I really liked the balance of it and personally found it very, very entertaining. So yeah, it was all good with me. I imagine some British people probably thought this is very, very American. I can imagine, but at the same time, I loved it. So it was all good with me. Oh, what a question. You are presented with the opportunity to take the place of Rebecca Welton as the owner of Richmond. What changes would you make? I would keep Jamie in season 4. I'd put Jamie on a 10-year contract so he can't leave. I like the idea of creating a women's team. I do. I really, really do like the idea of that, and I like they were hinting at that at the end of season 3. Let me channel Rebecca. Let me imagine I've got good arms and good posture. What would I do? Well, if Ted has gone, I would try to find somehow a replacement for Ted that keeps that core concept of what he loved, which was it's more than just the game. So I would want Roy and Nathan and Beard to maintain that, and I would want that to become almost the club's message. So I would make sure that stays. I'd start a biscuit shop. That's what I would. That's another avenue of business I'd go down. I would make that more of a public story. I would have asked Trent to put that in the book because I think they could have got some more money from that. I would have pushed this biscuit narrative, and I would create like a Richmond cafe because, you know, in real life, if that actually happened, you would get a lot of tourists to that area. I would create Richmond cafe, like an actual Richmond cafe where you can, you know, have like Ted's bread or something, like actual themed stuff. I would do that, and I'd bump up the merch as well. You know, like sunglasses or hats with moustaches on them, or so. I'd bump that up, and I'd make more YouTube content. This is kind of my field. I would push, like they brought the fans to sit and watch the training and stuff. I would get the players doing more social media content. And I'd get Keely to help me with more of that because I think she'd know what to do. Fun challenges, training stuff, help the local area, local community, the local youth teams. I'd get more of a youth training program, and you know, make sure that kids have a place to come and do sport and not just be out on the streets and breaking into things. That's what I'd do, and I'd do more for the community, and I'd create more through the content of socials and stuff. That's what I'd do. Is that a good answer? I don't know if is that a good answer? It's girls' night, and you are hanging out with Rebecca, Sassy, and Keely. Where do you go? Oof. Where do I go? Firstly, can I bring Barbara? Because I really, really want to see what happens when Sassy meets Barbara. That is something I'm craving. So can I bring Barb? Please let me bring Barb. Can we also bring Deborah, Rebecca's mum? Because I also have the feeling that would be pure chaos. And what I would just do is I'd let the 4 of them, Barb, we'd just go out to dinner, something, you know, it's dinner and karaoke or whatever. And I would just live for a competitive sort of pool game between Sassy and Barbara. because Barbara likes blood, so I feel like there'd be a point where people are just hitting each other with pool sticks. Pool? Snooker? What are they called? Pool stick. What are they called? Cue? Isn't it a cue? A cue. Pool cue. Yeah, I feel like that a competitive... You know, like in season 1 or season 2, or no, season 2, the beard episode, when he takes the boys to Bones and Honey and like has a night out. I'd take the girls to Bones and Honey, but we'd have a competitive pool competition with the blokes there. That's not going to go well, but it would be very entertaining. Imagine Barbara and Sassy together. It'd be just pure hell. Brilliant. Keely comes to you for dating advice. That's her first mistake. I'm not the person to go to. But anyway, Keely comes to you for dating advice. What would you tell her here when her options are Roy and Jamie? Both Roy and Jamie are at their best. They're in their best mental health. Okay. Like, who's she picking? I'm just glad Jack isn't in the mix, because I don't think Jack was good for her at all. I don't think that would have worked. How progressive are we making this? How progressive are we making this? Because I don't think there's an avenue where Roy and Jamie are willing to share. That would be a healthy option for Keely, but for the other two, they're not going to like that. So, I mean, I know who I'd pick. I'd pick Jamie, personally. I would personally pick Jamie. Really, after the end of season 1, very steadily, like by the funeral episode of season 2, he's already the better choice, in my opinion, for more than one reason that I won't go into. But I would pick Jamie, though I do think Roy genuinely loved her. You know, by the end, I think he does really love her. But I would say, see, am I a good friend or a bad one? Because if I was a bad friend, I'd go, no, pick Roy. So then I could possibly pick Jamie. But what I would actually say to her is, in reality, I'd maybe say both of the options aren't good for you. You should try and find someone else. Or what I would probably say is spend some time alone. Because she went from, you know, there was a relationship before that she spoke about. Then there was Jamie, then Roy, and then Jack, and then back to Roy. I honestly think being single for a year or something for her would be really, really good and allow her to figure out exactly what she wants. That's what I would say. I don't know if that's the answer you're looking for, but I would pick Jamie. One of my nitpicks of season 3 is that sometimes it felt to me like they were trying to pack in as many big emotional beats as they could. So my question is there any of these moments that you felt was out of place or unnecessary? And if you could, how would you have changed it? You know what? It's been like a month for me since I watched Ted. So I can probably look by thumbnails and try and work out what bits. Now, I loved the moment where Nate and his dad had that conversation. Oh, I can tell you something that didn't quite sit right with me. And I didn't mind it, but there was something that I felt was a bit rushed. The Colin coming out to his teammates. Listen, I don't mind the fact that Ted decided to sort of make a speech there, but there was no need for it, and I actually think it was very out of place. I don't think in that moment Ted should have had one of his speech things where he's talking about his friend that was a fan of a different football team. I don't think that was the right thing to do. So the only way I would have rewritten that scene as someone who's not as talented as these brilliant people that made this show, but what I would have done, considering you're asking, is made Colin have a speech there. Like he did when he sat and spoke with Trent, who I keep wanting to call Trent Ickathon, which is a character in Mighty Nine, who's very, very different to actual Trent, although both have great hair. Yeah, I would have actually made it in that moment that Colin give a speech and talk to his teammates, and then there is that rejoice and happiness because he's come out and he feels accepted, as opposed to Ted's. I would have wanted Ted to say something, but I feel that little anecdote in that moment, it was a little bit misplaced. And I would have wanted Colin or one of the other teammates or something to have said something instead. That's one thing I would have shifted. Is there anything else that's sitting on my mind? There's nothing coming to mind right now just by scrolling through and looking at like thumbnails to see if it jogs anything. No, nothing else is actually coming to mind, but I do know what you mean to a degree. That was the one that really sticks out to me, is that Colin coming out scene when he sat in the locker room. Did you know Nathan's premature grey hair, an unconventional path to coaching, was inspired by Jose Mourinho? No, I didn't. Was it? Was Nathan Shelley inspired by... I am Jose Mourinho. Mourinho... How the fuck do I spell Mourinho? You've written it down and I still can't spell it. There you go. Is widely considered to be inspired or compared to Jose Mourinho, particularly due to his evolution from Kitman to a hotshot young manager, along with Nate's grey hair in season 3 being seen as a tribute to the special one. Oh, that is quite cool. No, I hadn't put that together. Thank you for that. I wouldn't have known otherwise. Football is difficult to film. You can't ever get the flow of the game right. What would you say were the best and worst bits of football in the show? Now, it's interesting you say this because sometimes, like when they were training or something, or some clips from the games, it was good, and then there's some bits where it's really off. Sometimes the CGI looked a little bit wobbly, if I'm going to be honest with you. There was some bits where I thought, oh, that wasn't done particularly well. But there was other times where it was. Funnily enough, do you know the season, was it season 2 opener? The Danny Rojas penalty and it kills Earl? That whole sequence was done really well because the ball's static, right, in a penalty. So it's, like you say, the flow is a little bit hard to gather when you're filming pretend fictional football. So that any of the penalty shots or the free kicks were good, but sometimes the flow of stuff wasn't. Like, how do you make non-footballers look like they know what they're doing in football? Yeah, there was some bits of the show that was a bit wobbly, but other bits they did quite well. I would say anything where there's free kicks or penalties or any of that kind of stuff they did well. Some of the training as well, but I think they just kind of said, grab a football, kick it, and it was they just kind of filmed that and compiled it together into these little sort of sequences. Any of the actual in-play stuff, they did the best they could with it, I think, but it was sometimes a bit janky, yeah. If you had to pick the quintessential moment for some of the characters, what would they be? The Teddiest Ted moment, the Royest Roy moment, etc. The Teddiest Ted moment. What was Ted's... I love that scene with his mum at the end, when he says, you know, thank you, blah, 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 and fuck you for kind of doing that. That for me is the most Ted moment, because there's other bits of Ted where he will use jokes and comedy to kind of lighten the mood, and he'll deflect a lot. Those are very Ted. Those are a lot of Tedisms. But when Ted was just, you know, no filter, brain, thoughts came straight out of the mouth, that was in a way some of his best bits, where he just let things flow. And for me, that scene was when I was the most proud of Ted. Is when he was like, thank you for all these things you've done, but fuck you for all these things you've done. Yeah, that scene is up there and some of my favourites of the entire show. The Royest Roy moment, it's got to be, it's got to be that bit, because it's just so fucking funny. I think for me, the best Trent moment, there's many, many Trent moments, but I love the bit with the Diamond Dogs and they're all going woof, 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 and then he just goes woof. I fucking love that bit. Jamie's Jamiest moment. Do you know the bit of Jamie I love is actually like when he's filming on This Morning and he walks out there and there's like a crowd that want to see him. And he's really nice to the kids. He's like, you want me to sign that, buddy? Like, or whatever he says. I really like that. There's very soft moments with Jamie when he sees his mum. He's very sweet and gentle. Like, there's a lot of anger inside him. And there's a lot of fear. Jamie, to me, always comes across as like a scared little boy. But he'll never show that in front of children. He'll always try and make children feel safe. Roy, funny enough, has a similar thing. Like, we see that when he goes to the school and he's doing like the talk about football at Phoebe's school. And he's very good with the kids as well, but in a different way. So I would say Jamie's moment is when he's sort of sweet and gentle around people, because he knows what it feels like to be a little boy that can't defend himself probably. So yeah, that's some of my favourite Jamie moments. Or when Roy gets him up at 4 a.m. to go and work out. Or that bit. The Keeley bit that always cracks me up is when she's talking with, I think it's at the charity event thing back in season 1, and she says to Rebecca, she's like, you know, when I was 23 I was with a footballer and now I'm this age and I'm with a footballer, and she was like, I'm like Leonardo DiCaprio. That bit really, really makes me laugh. Rebecca's funniest moment for me is when she says lead guitarist from Cream and Higgins is like digging at her a little bit. I really like that. Oh, my favourite bit of all the characters actually, because it all highlights them very, very well individually, but one of my still my favourite episode is the funeral episode, and the bit where she's singing and Ted joins in. Actually, that's probably the best Tedism moment. That, with the other one I mentioned, is also up there for me, yeah. I would have loved a bit more background on Sassy. Okay, I'm really glad you're bringing up Sassy because I get a lot of shit in YouTube comments. Some of the stuff I have to even go and delete or block people because of what people say to me. I got a lot of shit for what I said about Sassy and what I said about Jane. For some reason, people think I have this thing against female characters, which is so fucking untrue. There are many characters in this show I loved, but two characters that I really didn't understand, and I think what O-Town's getting to here is we didn't have enough information about these characters. But two characters I felt very weirdly towards was Sassy and Jane. So yeah, let me just see what O-Town's question is here. I would have liked a bit more background on Sassy, even a bit more information regarding Sassy and Rebecca's friendship. I think it would have better given us an understanding of her character. Do you feel that it was fine as written, or would you have liked more info? I'm really glad you brought this up. Because a few things, I remember sort of making a comment when Sassy in a scene turns around and she's talking to Ted and she's like, Ted, I'm a child psychologist. As if to say I'd never have interpersonal relationships with my clients because he's talking to her about Jake. And then she's like, I'm a child psychologist. And he's like, of course, and then she goes, so then twice, right? And I'm saying, I hope she's not talking about the kids. I got a lot of comments of people saying, like, you don't understand sarcasm, like, you're really bad at reading people. And I actually had to go back a little bit at people in the comments and defend myself a bit because I was getting a lot of sort of personal judgments of me and how I perceive a character. And I said this actually in the Discord. I was sitting in a VC, I think, with some of you guys. Here's why I have an issue with a character like Sassy. There was a few things that she said in the show that they would never dare give to a male character because they know it would come across as wrong. They give it deliberately to a female character who is there for comedic relief because they know they can get away with it in that. They would never take a male character or a character like Dr. Fieldstone, who is a psychologist and a therapist and works with people, and make a joke about her having interpersonal relationships with a client. But they'd give it to Sassy because she's just the comedic relief of the show. And the truth is, if Sassy was a male character, you wouldn't like her and you wouldn't trust her. If Sassy was a male character and she was a friend to Ted or Beard, you actually wouldn't like what she does on screen. You would actually find her very uncomfortable. I feel the same about Jane. There's many moments where people will talk about Jane, they'll be like, oh, you just don't like a woman who likes to have a bit of fun, or you just don't like a woman that's a bit more carefree, or I got a lot of weird comments of people judging me for my perception of this character. If it was the other way around, and say Beard was Rebecca or Keeley, and they were seeing a male partner instead of Jane, right, but that had the same characters as Jane. If Jane, as a guy character, but playing out this behaviour, called Keeley and said, or if Jamie did this and called Keeley and said, oh, I'm hanging out with a model friend of mine that, really cool, I'll see you later, and quickly hung up the phone and was acting really suspicious, you lot would hate them. You'd be like, that's so wrong, how could they do such a thing? Like, there's a bit where Jane kind of says to Beard, keep the cap on, the flat cap. She's like, I like you like that. If a male character was telling a female character how to dress, or that they were going and seeing someone they've openly said is attractive and acting all weird, or jumping out at someone, or being inappropriate when there's a social gathering and was basically grinding up and down on them and making out with them, you would find that character really uncomfortable. But because they're a female character, we overlook it. And that's all I was trying to say at the time was, I feel like these characters are probably fine and they are good characters and they're probably good people, but we were given so little of them, I can only think of them as I do, which is, I don't like them. Sassy as a character, I think she is a good friend to Rebecca. Don't mean I like her, don't mean I'd personally want to hang out with her. She's too unpredictable for me and I don't like it. Would I have wanted to see more? Yes. She's got, Sassy's got Rebecca's back. She gives it out to Rupert every time she sees him, and I love that. But there are other levels of Sassy's character and other characters in the show as well that I think do kind of rub you the wrong way, and it may just be because we haven't seen enough of them. But I stand by my original statement. There are things that Sassy has said in the show that if a male character said it, no one would be laughing. They'd all go, that's a bit of a weird place to joke. That's a bit strange. Yeah, there are certain characters that I would like to have got more info about because I think it would have changed my perception of them a bit. And I think if I'd had seen more good from Sassy, then yes, I would feel differently about her than I currently do. But Was she good comedic relief? Yes. And did I laugh out loud at some of the things she said? Absolutely. Did you enjoy Keely's KJPR subplot, including the side characters like Barbara, Shandy and Jack? It's not my favourite part of season 3, if I'm honest with you. I much preferred other plots, but I did enjoy meeting Barbara and I liked the shift there. And I knew I'd like Barbara just because the way the character was set up. She was like always a bit off, but not off in terms of how like the other characters have been regarding Sassy and stuff. She has her routine, she has her way of running business, and she couldn't stand how unprepared Keely was. And some of the decisions Keely made was terrible, like bringing in Shandy. And I really liked the way Barbara shifted and almost brought the good out of Keely. This sort of, she became to Keely what Rebecca would have been, but Rebecca wasn't there. You know, Rebecca was at Richmond doing her own thing. She had her own stuff to sort out. I think Barbara gave Keely a bit of a wake-up call at certain points, as if to say, like, this is a business. This isn't the modelling world. This isn't, like, what you've done as a career. This is my job and my reputation and my career. Don't fuck it up by trying to build a certain kind of business, you know? And I think Barbara then gained a lot of respect for Keely in the end because she walked away from Jack. I think, like I say, that whole subplot of Keely's side of things was not my favourite of season 3, but there is some very enjoyable moments from it. And I did like it. There was just other things I liked more. Which 2 characters, more than one pair is okay, did you wish would end up being in a relationship? For a while I rooted for Rebecca and Ted. Just because they have a lot of respect for each other, and I think he would have been very good for her and I think she would have been very good for him. But I love how it ended with season 3, which is they were very, very good friends. That conversation in the airport was so sweet and so heartfelt. And then, you know, he's going to try and make amends with Michelle, from what we can gather. And the shite in Nining armour. the Flying Dutchman arrived at the end, which I think is a great, you know, relationship possibility there for Rebecca. So there was 2 characters I was rooting for a long time, which was Ted and Rebecca, but I also think they have separate opportunities there with other characters. Either way it plays out would be fine with me, but those were 2 people I rooted for a while. Who would I wish would end up being in a relationship? I honestly, like, even though I think Jamie is a better option for Keely, I don't know if I'd root for them to be together. I think, like I said, I think Keely needs some time alone to figure things out. I think she's got too much going on, and I think she really wants to push herself in different avenues of her life, like the business element of things. I think that's what she needs right now. There isn't really anyone else I would want in a relationship. There's nothing that comes to mind other than, say, Nate and Jade, because I think she really does love him and care for him, and I think it's good for him. He keeps her grounded, and I actually think that was crucial to his redemption arc, was Jade being there and keeping him on the straight and narrow. So, yeah, other than those ones I've mentioned, I can't think of any more, but I'd say maybe Nate and Jade were the ones I was really rooting for, actually, in the end. Which characters that never interact or don't have a lot of interactions with each other did you wish that they would interact? I don't know why, but I feel like there would have been something cool there between Trent and Jamie. Higgins and Jamie would have also been a cool dynamic. You see it, but I would have wanted more. More because I would have wanted Jamie to become a diamond dog. And I know that wasn't possible because they didn't really let players in, because it's more the coaching staff and that. But I would have loved to see Jamie more with that bunch. Just Jamie and Ted in general, actually, I really liked. I would have loved to have seen Jamie, Ted and Roy interact a bit more, personally, because I actually think the dynamic was very good. Just trying to think if there's anyone else. Actually, just honestly, Higgins with anyone. Higgins with Ted. Higgins with Trent. I think Higgins was very good for people, actually. He was always the kind of the touchstone. He was always there to kind of ground people and give good advice when needed. So I actually think Higgins with more of the team and more involvement. And I really hope he's in season 4. Maybe we see more of Higgins play out. I would actually really, really like that. I didn't realise how many questions you guys have done. There's loads here. Leaving aside the featured players like Jamie, Danny, Sam, who is your favourite member of Richmond team? And why is it Jan Maas? And who is your least favourite member of the Richmond team? And why is it Bumbercatch? I don't think Jan Maas is my favourite, personally. He's cool and he's funny, but I don't think he's my favourite. Leaving aside Jamie, Danny, Sam, Isaac, Colin, and season 1 Roy. Fucking hell, who else is there? Hang on. Richmond. I've got to Google it. It's been a while, sorry. Ted Lasso, Richmond. So you got Zava, Bumbercatch, Montlore. Oh, the French one, yeah. Jan Mas. Zorro. I'm not allowed to say the obvious ones. Well, if I'm not allowed to say the obvious ones, because there's some other players that I don't actually know. It's not, I wouldn't say Jan Mas is my favourite. He's cool. I'd actually say Zorro, because he actually fucking kept them in it at the end. He was amazing in goal and had a bit of an identity crisis for a while. But he's fucking consistent, man. And if I can't pick any of the others, then I'm going to go with him. Zorro. Or Van Damme for a while. Who was my least favourite? Probably Zava, just because he was a bit of a fucking drama queen. But then I also respect him because he left to do what his real passion was in the end, and that's what he wanted to do. I just think he was a bit of a plonker. So yeah, favourite out of the ones I'm allowed to pick, Zorro. Least favourite, Zava. Fuck, marry, kill. Higgins, Dr. Fieldstone or Trent Grimm? Oh my god. See, here's the thing, right? What I want to say here. Actually, no, hang on. This is an awkward one. See, here's the thing. Instead of fuck, because it's a bit abrasive, let's instead say kiss. Let's do kiss, marry, kill. Because, you know, it's a bit weird, isn't it? Otherwise. Who would I kiss? Trent Grimm, but then that feels weird because he's gay, and then I feel like I'm forcing myself on Trent, so that feels weird. Dr. Fieldstone, I don't think she is gay, so then that feels even weirder if I say that. Higgins is married. Shit. I would kiss Trent Grimm on the cheek. No, I don't want to marry Higgins. No, I don't want to marry Higgins. No. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna kiss Higgins on the cheek. And we're going to ask his wife's permission first. I'm gonna marry Trent Grimm. Lavender marriage, that work? No, it doesn't work. I don't want to kill Trent. The fucking hell, this is a horrible question. I'm going to change it. We're going to do kiss, marry, keep. As in, you keep them to yourselves. You keep Higgins, because he's happily married. I don't want anything involved in that. I'm gonna kiss Trent because he wouldn't be interested in being married to me. I don't offer him anything because he's gay, and I would marry Dr. Fieldstone, but she'd probably hate me, so we'd get an annulment within about a year. Is that all right? Have I upset anyone with that answer? No? Okay, good. What is your favourite position in football and your favourite footballer? When I played when I was younger, I was number 11, so I was a right winger. And footballers who at the time I adored Messi. And I watched Messi a lot because I loved the way he plays. But what footballers do I have? Thierry Henry was someone I've looked at and admired for years. I think they're an incredible player. Funny enough, who I've always called Johan Cruyff, even though it's Johan Cruyff. How do they say it in the episode? I've already forgotten. He was someone I've admired for years, even though I've apparently got his name wrong. But to be fair, all the commentators call him Johan Cruyff as opposed to Johan Cruyff? Johan Cruyff? However they say it, I don't know. Anyway, I'm trying to think what other players I've admired for years. I was a big fan of Puyol, who's a Barcelona defender, retired now, I think. Big fan of him, and Xabi Alonso was another player I always used to look at and admire. And I'm trying to think if there's anyone else. I mean, I could just reel off the Arsenal team, but I won't, because I'll have some dignity. Actually, Didier Drogba, back in the day. Like, I used to watch a lot of his, highlights, even though I wasn't a Chelsea fan, but Didier Drogba is a player I've always respected. So, off the top of my head, those are the ones that come into my brain right now. So, those are the ones I'll go with. Which character do you think is definitely going to prison, and what would it be for? Who was that? Who was that player at one point when they're talking about... It's when Keeley has the video leak and there's all the boys sat in the locker room. One of the players turns around and goes, pictures of my girlfriend, and then they're like, delete them, and they're like, but what if they're not sexual or whatever he says, and then he's like, what are they? And he's like defecating or whatever he says. I can't even remember the clip, but it's really odd, and I just feel like there's something off about that bloke. So him. And I'm not going to say the crime because I don't know if I'm allowed to on YouTube, but probably something along those lines. Yeah, it didn't rub me the wrong way. I didn't like that at all. What is your favourite and least favourite episode? Ooh. Favourite episode for me is very much still the funeral episode, by far. It is followed by the Amsterdam trip Sunflowers. Then there's some other ones. There's the one where they do the FA Cup final, which is the one after the beard episode, I'm pretty sure. So episode 10 of season 2, or whatever it would be. That's also a great one. The Sam Obisanya episode that's in season 2 where he puts the black tape on his chest, I also thought was a really great episode. There's been a few actually, but those are the ones that stand out to me. And then of course the final ones, episode 10, 11 and 12 of season 3 were amazing. And what's your least favourite episode? In terms of an episode I can never see me rewatching would probably be the beard episode. That I said at the time felt like a dream, but obviously we know it wasn't. But yeah, that one was all a bit odd to me and not one that I liked, but didn't love. Top hottest characters. Jamie, for sure. Jamie, actually Ted. I do think Ted's very cute, very, very sweet. And honestly, Sam. I'd say Sam. Sam's very sweet as well. Sam's got looks and character, which I really love. Any other girls? Rebecca's in great shape. I've got to learn that woman's bicep routine. She's got brilliant arms. Brilliant arms. Honestly, it's almost depressing how good her arms are. I like that bit when she goes like that. And the fucking woman's wham. Huge respect to Hannah Waddingham. Are you in any way worried that season 4 is unnecessary after the way they wrapped up things in season 3? Is there anything you think still needed to be in Ted's story? Or is it just fun to have more time with the characters? It's a good question. I think there's certain things, like I say, I'm worried about. Like the recasting of Ted's son, apparently. And I mean, this is all stuff that could be changed. This is just internet, Google stuff, you know? So who knows how much of that's really true? Who knows how much we're going to really see? But I honestly do wonder about that. And I just personally wonder if it's needed as season 4. And I worry that they're going to it's going to be one of those things where, you know a show has like a peak time and then it starts to dwindle because it becomes more about money and just dragging something on. I really, really hope it doesn't become that. What we need for season 4, I would say, is either everybody from the original cast in season 1 to 3 back somehow, which I don't know if that's even going to be possible, but we need a really good continuation of what was already working. Or if there's not going to be the right people there, we need to change things up and it needs to be a really, really well-written plot for season 4 that's going to be different, you know, completely different. And it's almost going to need to have like a spin-off feel, I think, for it to work. So we'll have to see how it plays out. But I do worry it's going to become a bit dragged out, but hopefully it doesn't. What is your opinion on Jade? You didn't talk that much about her in your reactions, I think. She seemed very weird in the beginning, but it turned out she was just very emotionally intelligent. I loved her first encounter with Rupert and her immediate disgust for him. I was a big fan of Jade, not at first. Like when you first meet her, you're like, okay, she's being a bit of a bitch. But then when you look at it from her perspective, Nate was being like a real, like, I'm just going to be honest, if a guy walked into a restaurant and was being like that with me and I worked there, I would have the exact same reaction that Jade did, which is just like, you know, please stop looking at me like I'm a piece of meat or trying to impress me, just act as normal as you can. Like, do you know what I mean? He did make her uncomfortable, so I kind of get it. No, I think she's great. I think she's great for Nathan. And I really hope we see more of her in season 4 because I think there's more to her as a character as well that could come out. So I don't know if maybe I didn't talk too much. Maybe in the beginning, by the end, I think I spoke more about Jade. But yeah, it took a little bit of time for me to notice that she was a cool character. And once I did, I really liked her, yeah. What do you think Beard's bachelor party looked like? Oof. If we know anything about Beard and Jane, they're an interesting bundle. I think it would probably been quite chaotic. I think all the players would have been there. What I would have hoped it would be is a lot of karaoke, a lot of pillow fights, and a lot of fun. That's what I would want for them. So that's what I hope it was. Your other question is just more about season 4, and I've already gone over that, so I'm just going to skip over this here to the next one. Have you considered rewatching the show as a reaction series? A second go at Ted Lasso? I haven't, honestly. I like to just kind of move on with shows. To rewatch it maybe in private, maybe, and give it another rerun. I recently did that with Blue Eye Samurai, which I adored. I'm very upset. It's been pushed back to 2027. Season 2's been pushed back another year. I'm fine about it. Everything's fine. And I did also rewatch, I don't actually think I got through all of Arcane. I think I only got back to about halfway through season 2, and I wasn't as gripped by that as I was with Blue Eye Samurai. So sometimes I love shows on a rewatch, and sometimes I don't. I can't see me rewatching the entire show, but I can see me rewatching season 1, because also the episodes are a bit shorter and I got through it a bit quicker. So I'd like to go back and rewatch that, and maybe some of the specific episodes I mentioned earlier, like the Sunflowers one. Anyone else think that all of Keely's romantic involvements weren't just it, including Roy? Yes. This is why I say she needs some time alone. I don't think anyone's the perfect match for her. And you've put there, I was hoping for a Roy and Miss Bowen. So was I a little bit. So was I. I don't really like that she was almost flirting with him when he was in a relationship with someone else, but then he didn't leave. So they're both at fault there a little bit. But yeah, I almost think Roy and Miss Bowen could have something going on. Maybe we'll get that in season 4. Who knows? That could be an interesting twist. And that Keely, Roy, and Jamie, who's not going to be there, which I'm still heartbroken about, are just really good friends, and they're okay with each other, and they actually find their own people. I think that would be a lovely twist, actually, because I don't think you need to be in a relationship with someone to reconcile with them. I think in a way they can be there for each other without being in relationships, which I think would be a really, really nice plot point, actually. Which character did you enjoy the most and why? Jamie, because of his face. And Ted, because of his face and his jokes. Okay. Which episode did you think was the best? Again, funeral episode, by far my favourite episode. Hi Claudie, hello Lewis. One question that refuses to leave my mind is why the hell is Beard still with Jane? I'm so happy someone else feels this. When they got married at the end, I was like, yay! And then I was like, oh. But I'm completely with you on this. Why isn't Ted saying something when it's so obviously toxic? I hope season 4 deals with that. Best wishes. Best wishes to you too, Louise. Jane. Yeah, Jane is mental. And again, to go back to what I said earlier, if it was a male character and Beard was a female character, everyone would be like, what the fuck is she doing with him? I don't get how people are overlooking it just because she's a female character. She's really odd, and I don't like the dynamic. But they're happy, so maybe there's something we're missing. But in my opinion, you're right. Ted should have said something. Rebecca... I mean, the fact that Keely points out in season 2, Jane messaged her because she thought Beard was sleeping with Ted and was trying to find out through Keely. So weird, so gross. If that was the other way around, people would lose their shit. But everyone overlooks it because she's a woman. And it feels so weird. I'm so glad somebody else feels this way about Jane. Yeah, I don't know. But who knows? Maybe season 4 will give us some highlight on that. Actually, this question got replies. This is interesting. Someone's put underneath, because what looks toxic from the outside may actually work for both of them. Listen, if I had a friend and their partner was treating them the way Jane treats Beard, I would slap some fucking sense into them and I'd be like, what are you doing? That's all I can say. From an outsider perspective, very odd. All I can say is the sex must be mind-blowing if Beard's putting up with this. I'm going to London this year. Is it worth going to Richmond? I see they have a shop or two there. Want to up my merch game. I'm 56, have an English degree, and have just said up my merch game. Jeez Louise. Well, Peter, here's the thing. I've actually never been to Richmond, and I was debating going myself at some point, maybe on a weekend, driving over to Richmond. Richmond Park is supposed to be beautiful. It's the bit you see Keely sat at doing that photo shoot in like season 1, which is all the fields and stuff in the background. That's supposed to be beautiful. I don't know. I can't really give too much advice on it because I haven't been. If I do go, I'll let you know. Don't know how I'll let you know, but I'll telepathically let you know in spirit whether or not you should go. You're welcome. Happy to help. You've definitely been the best reactor to spot throwbacks, have I? I don't think I have, but thank you. That's very, very sweet of you. What was your favourite one? See, this is where my mind goes completely blank and I can't remember anything. I mean, I really love the be a goldfish thing and how that goes through the show, because it's also a good message. It's just kind of keep life moving. Barbecue sauce, especially at the end when they're doing Nate's formation, but the bit where it goes in, he goes barbecue sauce. There's something about that I think is really, really sweet, and that whole arc there of Ted coming to terms with his dad and stuff. It's the little stuff in the back. It's the little army figurines. It's the biscuits. It's the Lego pieces. It's a lot of the background sort of set design sometimes that I think is very, very sweet in the way he kind of does stuff. And he almost has like little, he almost has souvenirs for people. I think that's a really cute little concept that I liked a lot. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that comes to mind. I don't think there's anything else coming to mind right now, but maybe, I tell you what, comment below some of your best throwback jokes and things like that. I know there was some. There was a throwback joke. Oh, the Keeley, you know, the bit where she's on the screen talking and she's like, there's many things to do in so and so, and it's just like in different places. That's very funny. Yeah, that's probably a big one. Or just the way Jamie keeps calling Roy grandpa, or things alike, is very funny as well, how he keeps that going. Yeah, any of that kind of stuff. If you have any more that were your favourite, comment them below, because it might jog my memory, so please do comment them below. Right, that's the end of your guys' questions. I now have Mum's questions to go through. We had Mum City, now we've got Mum Quizzy questions. Right, okay, Mum put them on 2 bits, double-sided bit of paper, thank you Mum. Right, I love her, can I just say, my Mum, if you're watching this, she's put, if you can be any character from for a day, and then she's put, from the Ted Lasso series. Like, oh, thanks, Mum. I thought you meant Arcane. Sorry, okay. If you could be any character for one day, which one would you be and why? Jamie. No. Keeley. Keeley. What are your hopes? Mum, don't watch this. Mum, don't watch this video. What are your hopes for the season 4 storyline? Do you think that they should have stopped after season 3? Have I already answered this? I think I already have. My hopes are that they either shift... Hello, Mum. Mum, my hopes are that they're either going to shift and make it more of a spin-off show and go really different, or they've got to keep what works and redo that again. Hope you're taking notes, Mum. What was your favourite episode of... I've already answered this. The funeral episode. In your view, Hugh Grant. In your view, who is the most troubled and or complex character? Troubled, as in concerning and a character I didn't like, sassy. But in terms of who is probably the most troubling character, I mean Rupert, right? Rupert's just horrible. He's just a dick. I think who would I not want to deal with in real life? Him. Like, Jane and Sassy and stuff are not people I'd want to be around, but you could generally defend yourself against someone like that. You know, Rupert is borderline sociopath sometimes in the way he thinks about things and wants to do things, and you can almost see how Rebecca almost became like him, right? In terms of she spent so long with him, when they broke up, her first thought was to sabotage everything, which is what he would want to do. So yeah, for me, Rupert. Which character are you most like? What personality traits can you relate to the most? I'd like to think I have a little bit of Ted in me, a little bit. I'd like to think I try and crack jokes, and I probably don't open up as much as Ted did in the end, so that's probably something I should learn. I'd say I'd like to be like Jamie as well, because everyone's like, Jamie's a dick. No, he just kind of knows how to play that role when he's on the pitch. And he earlier on was that role on the pitch and off the pitch. But like season 3 Jamie, I'd love to be like, you know, so a blend between Jamie and Ted would be my pick. Let's turn this over because she's got more questions. There were many emotional scenes. Which one made you smile the most? Which one made you cry the most? Which one made you angry? You've managed to put 3 questions in one. Right. Smile the most. Probably the scene between Ted and his mum. The thank you for the things you've done, but fuck you for the things you've done. That one. Made me cry the most was the Nate and his dad moment, or the Jamie bit with his dad in the locker rooms at the FA Cup final, or whatever it was when they were at Wembley, and they drag his dad out. Oh no, I've just realised the bit where we see Jamie's dad in rehab and he's proud of him. There's that bit, yeah. And then the most angry was the Nate walking off in season 2. When he's having that conversation with Ted, and Ted's like, what have I done, Nate? You know, and Nate flips on him. And I understand his anger and aggression and his fear. Like, at the root core of it, Nathan's just scared. I get that. But it made me so angry because of the way he was acting. So yeah, I'd say those ones are up there for sure. These characters were animals. What would they be? In brackets, she's put just pick a couple. She's listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9. Because I did this on Claudie Corner when I drew. I'll put them on screen. I drew pictures of Ted, Beard, and Roy. I put Roy as a teddy bear, Ted as a squirrel, and what did I put Beard as? I can't remember. Editing, Claude, can you just tell me what I put Beard as? Because I can't remember. Sorry. Higgins would be a beaver. Beard, I've already, whatever that was, I can't remember what I said it was. It was Josh, actually, in the Discord that gave me an idea, and I can't remember which one it was. Will would be like a lemur, or like a monkey of some kind, like one of those little tiny primates, little ones. So a lemur or something of that kind. Colin, no, he's Welsh. A dragon. He's got to be Welsh. He's either that or a daffodil, and that doesn't. He'd be a dragon. Imagine like a dragon but little, and it's like a pet lizard but kind of dragon. That's what he'd be. Rupert, sort of needy and cunning. A fox, probably, but like a stray sort of rabies-riddled fox. Keely's fox, but in a good way. Not in a Rupert way, in a good way. Barbara would be... See, Barbara's to me is just like a dog, but like a poodle or like a labradoodle, but just disinterested in everything and just sort of rolls its eyes at everything. Right, last couple of questions. Thanks, Mum. The music was awesome throughout. Do you have a favourite song or tune from the series? Probably Glad All Over by the Dave Clark 5, which is back in season 1. It's just a classic British song and is often like a real anthem at football stadiums as well. So it's also, I think, Crystal Palace's song, and they were playing on the Crystal Palace ground in the show, so I'm pretty sure that's true. Harriet Walter has featured in both Ted Lasso and Silo, playing the character of Walk. What do you think of both the characters she has portrayed? I love both of them. I think her range as an actress is incredible, and I think she's just really cool. Some of the moments I've laughed the hardest was the moments where Deborah shows up and is talking to Rebecca in the show. Very, very funny. Very, very well written, like as a character, but the way she acts it is just phenomenal. Yeah, she's amazing. As well as Blue Eye Samurai, desperate for more Silo, so I can see Harriet Walter again in Silo. Thank you for these questions, Mum, and thank you everybody else for your questions. This was lovely. I've really enjoyed just going back over and talking about Ted, and I guess we'll see what happens with season 4. Who knows where they're going to be taking it? Who knows what they're going to do? But whatever happens, I hope it's going to be funny. There's going to be lots of laughs and lots of tears, and I hope to see you back as and when I watch it. It'd be lovely to do a discussion like this again sometime. If you did enjoy this, do give it a thumbs up. Always helps me out. Subscribe, put notifications on. That way you won't miss anything. And I'll see you very, very soon. If you want to check out some of my other reactions, we've got the likes of Silo, like I mentioned there, also has Harriet Walter in it. Blue Eye Samurai, Severance, another Apple TV show. And most currently, Mighty Nine. The Mighty Nine. Amazon Prime's The Mighty Nine. Very, very cool, very, very funny and amazing animation. So if you want to check those out, I'll leave some links to some playlists, and I'll see you very, very soon. Take very, very good care of yourself. If you was an animal, what animal would you be? Let me know below, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.